You smell what the Rock is cooking.
Acknowledge me.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
We are bad to the bone. Get it? Bad to the bone.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
I'll fight anybody. Who do you want? Just let me fight him.
Let me tell you something, Jim Ross.
Mega power, yeah. Hogan, we coming for you.
We are the best of the best.
Woo! Wheeling, dealing. Smart marks.
And that's the bottom line, cause Stone Cold said so.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Talk 'Em in the Building, a wrestling podcast where we focus on the pro wrestling promo. My name is Adalid. I'm here with my compadres, my compatriots, Adrian and Greg. Fellas, how we doing tonight?
We're good, man. I'm good, man. I'm
Perfect.
good. Ready
Greg,
to
how you
rock and roll,
feeling?
man.
Definitely good. You know, I'm rocking the prime. Because that's what we
Once
got to
again.
do. Always rocking the prime. Hit my little promo for prime. Our goal is to make this the official drink. Logan, official drink. I'm just saying.
I'm with it. I like it. I like it.
Well, I'm rocking my Hawaiian shirt today. I'm in that summer mode. This is the summer wave episode, everybody. We are digging in. We are ready to go. The barbecue is fired up. I'm fired up to talk about what summer means in the pro wrestling sense, in the pro wrestling promo. And I want to kind of get your thoughts here, because I think of summer, I think a little bit of the doldrums of summer, and sports is in this weird kind of flux. Seasons are ending. Baseball's in this it's pretty much settled in some cases. Maybe the races haven't heated up, but in pro wrestling, it can be quite a fun time, right? Historically, we always have SummerSlam, but as companies have come and gone, we have other events, and in recent years, we've been had more things going on. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about summer, the idea of school being out, and how fun that can be. But thinking back, just personally, guys, what are those kind of summertime activities that really, you look forward to? Whether it was in the past as a pro wrestling fan or just as a person, what's get you going? For me, it's just really looking forward to enjoying the California weather, being outside, firing up a barbecue. I'm not lying about that. Some carne asada. You can be out pretty late. The days are long. You can hit the beach. And it's funny because living in LA, you'd think you'd go to the beach often, and you don't. You go to work, and you don't get to the beach as often as you'd like, even though it's packed. But it's really great. And we've been fortunate here in Southern California to really, it's a time when pro wrestling kind of really hits a peak, because you can be out, a lot of outdoor events, outdoor lucha events. It really, really is a great time to be a pro wrestling fan, even in that sense. Greg, how about yourself? What are kind of those motivating factors during summer for you?
So interesting you kind of brought that up. I love baseball. So, of course, that's summer, spring into summer. But thinking wrestling wise, and just kind of taking it back, I always think about the Great American Bash. That's something, because growing up here in Atlanta, WCW, NWA camp, territory, Great American Bash was huge. I think about Bash at the Beach. I mean, because go back, Bash at the Beach, where the NWO started, and then Bash at the Beach later on. I believe that's where Jeff Jarrett kind of laid down. That one you got that. Of course, SummerSlam kind of later in the summer. But to your point, man, wrestling during the summer nowadays is a little bit dead, right? There's that dead period. But I think now, but just thinking back, it wasn't. King of the Ring was a June thing, June, July-ish. And, going back to that, it's just all those little pieces. And what's kind of cool about this is, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead. I don't know what promos you're bringing. I have no idea. I love it. There's a skit I remember way back with I think it was the Dudes with Attitudes or something like that, on the beach with Vader and Sting, one of the craziest promos or skits or whatever it was. And that's always stuck out of my mind of like, what in the world just happened? And because it was right before Vader left to go to WWF. And those little things. But yeah, and so Adrian, what do you think about when you're wrestling wise during the summer?
Well, on a personal note, just playing football, summer always was a big deal for us because of camps and just team bonding. So on a personal note, whenever I think of summer, that's what I would think of. Just, you know, the summer camps, whether you were traveling, which I was fortunate to be able to do, um, but also when you would bond with your team and you haze your freshman. I'm not supposed to say haze, but you welcome your freshman class and that sort of stuff. But as a wrestling fan, something that always cool to me as a wrestling fan during the summer was being a New Japan fan for the G1, the tournament. Now, I'm on the East Coast. I'm in Atlanta, so is Greg. Adalid's on the West Coast. Adalid has a slight advantage because he doesn't have to stay up as late as wrestling fans on the East Coast like myself. And especially if you're just super excited about the tournament and matchups and stuff like that, I want to say it's like 4 a.m. our
Mm.
time, Atlanta. So I've only done this once, and I don't know how my body even went through it, but I definitely remember the year that Naito won. I pretty every single night of the G1, I stayed up and watched it
Hmm.
live. I would either I made it a point because I was in control of schedules. I would pretty much close my restaurant, and we would close at like 2 o'clock in the morning. So it was like I'm already up, man. I might as well just watch it, you know. And my girlfriend at the time thought I was insane, which I was, but I had to watch my guy, man. I had to watch and cheer him on, even on the nights where he wasn't performing. It's just one of those things. If you're a big fan of a wrestler or a promotion and you get an opportunity for like something like a tournament, you're just like if you're just locked in, man, you're locked in. And you gotta be one of those madmen to live watch at 4 a.m.
Woo.
And I had the
Love it.
threads going, and only it was like three of us that were consistently doing it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we were doing it, man, and I had to do it. It was like what, a month pretty much of doing
it's
it. And
great.
yeah, I don't know. I want to say after Naito won, I pretty much took like a week off on wrestling. I was just like, I gotta sleep and try to get my body back normal because I don't know what the hell I went through for that. It was a lot of Red Bull. I can say that.
Well, I can't say I was staying up as late as you. So respect for that. Respect for the passion and respect for
Yeah.
the passion for New Japan. I did stay up, and a little side story similar, right? Because these shows always start late, even on the West Coast, and they
Hmm.
run into 4 or 5 a.m. out here. And with my current wife, who's my girlfriend at the time, and we're out at a movie that she paid for because she was cool about it, and she took me out, and we're there, and there was this heightened sense of it was everybody was too sweeting because of the Bullet Club and whatnot. So we roll into this really really nice theater, and the manager comes over, me and my Bullet Club shirt, of course, and he just puts it up, and my wife goes like, he's like, wow, that really is everywhere, right? And he sent some desserts our way for free. This is a compliment. It's
Nice.
like, are you
Sweet.
gonna watch the G1 tonight? It's like, yeah, yeah. It's like, and she's like, yeah, we are. And that's like, oh, I got it locked in. I got the best of everything right now. So yeah,
Nice. Oh
we
yes.
went home that night and watched the G1. It was great. It was
Nice.
Nice.
wonderful. So
So I
really
have a
really great
question about that.
memories.
I have a question. So, so that was years ago, right, with the Bullet Club shirt. But
Hmm.
even today, when you see somebody in public with a wrestling shirt on, do you acknowledge them? No, no pun
Hell
intended
I
yeah.
for Roman.
Oh yeah,
But
you have to. Yeah.
Hell yeah. I
But
do.
I think,
Definitely.
yeah, I think as diehards, you have to. I mean, I've acknowledged people that didn't even give me the time of day. They were like, "Oh yeah, it's a cool shirt," but
Mm.
I'll take those odds
hmm
because more often than not, I'm gonna engage with someone who's a fan and who can I just go wild with and have a conversation with, and
hmm
even if
Now,
it's someone who is casual about it.
I will say now compared to a couple years ago, and I know I've mentioned this to other conversations, but now it's a little bit more strange interacting with someone based on a wrestling shirt because something negative pops up.
Mm.
And what I mean is, just for an example, not picking on them or anything like that. We were at the airport in North Carolina, and a guy had on, I want to say he had on an AEW shirt. And that's what it was. It was an AEW, just a branded shirt. So I went up to him. I was like, "Yo, man, what do you think about the upcoming show?" And I want to say this was around the time where Punk was kind of fired, but not fired. You know, that kind of weird little, we don't know what are they
Mhm.
going to do. And instead of really talking about the show, he just pretty much laid it all on Punk, man. He just tore Punk up. And I was just like, yeah, man, it's other factors with that. We don't really know. You're just kind of taking one person's opinion and running with it. But he was just completely sold on his deal, and he was pretty much like, screw him, and I hope he goes to WWF or WWE and fails and blah blah blah. That didn't time well, pretty much, but or that didn't age well, but you know, it was just one of those things where a couple years ago, I could see someone with a New Japan shirt, a WWE shirt, or TNA, and we could have a conversation.
Yep.
And there's not much hostility on one end.
Mm.
But now you can still have those positive conversations, and it's really about how you interact. You know, you can only control yourself. But I'm noticing now, like you talk to another wrestling fan, now it could go left, man. People are really crazy now about this stuff.
Yeah.
Like I don't ever remember growing up as a kid where it was we were in Atlanta, WCW backyard and all that stuff, and we were into WWF. I don't
Yeah.
recall us really arguing and being upset with each other about whether or not you like Goldberg over Austin. Like that wasn't
Yeah.
a thing for me as a kid. I just don't remember that, Greg. I don't know
Mm-mm.
if you experienced that, but I didn't experience that as growing up here.
No, I mean you had your. I remember my NWA diehards, and then transitioning into WCW diehards. You did have that, right? But
Right, right.
nothing like you're not nothing like you have the tribalism you have now. I think you
Yeah.
did have more separate fans, and I think
Hmm.
you had WWE fans or F whatever, and that those fans were WWE, and you had the WCW fans that were also WWE fans.
Hmm.
I think you had more WWE only fans, but you didn't have this. Oh, they screw them. Oh, this that. Most people think, oh man, I love NWA. It's more real or whatever stuff like that. But normally my conversations were never about that. You know, not especially not a
Never.
casual conversation. Like now,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
like, but to me, if I approach somebody that has a TNA shirt on, I don't get that. Like, I don't get that what you just
Agreed.
said.
Yeah.
Same thing with
Yeah.
New Japan. I don't get it. You do get it with the AEW, and I hate to say it like that,
Mhm.
but I change what I say to them now. I just be like, hey
Yeah.
man, nice shirt, and that's it. I don't even say nothing
Yeah.
beyond
Yeah.
that. I don't ask a
Exactly. You don't
question.
go too deep. You don't
No,
go too deep.
mm-mm. If they go
And
down a
that's the
path,
thing. Yeah.
then that's cool. I'll talk to them, but I let them guide that conversation.
And if you're listening to, as you're listening to us, you gotta consider we love wrestling. It doesn't matter
Mm,
Yes.
where it comes from,
Definitely.
and I think that should be key as to how you approach. And um, yeah, we've lived through eras of wrestling, and we've been very fortunate. But I'm not gonna discount something just because of someone's strong opinion. I'm gonna judge it for myself, and sometimes I want to judge it. I'm just gonna experience it, right?
Hmm.
I love going to live shows because all the commentary, everything else is filtered out. It's for me to experience. It's for me to
mm-hmm.
take in and enjoy the show. And I've been really fortunate that I've gone to some great wrestling shows even this year. And I forget all tribalism. I forget all the nonsense because
Hmm.
I'm there seeing the performers, which ultimately they don't care, right? They're trying to make a living. They're trying to be performers, and they're artists, right? And we always talk about the promo because it is an art, and I think that's why I fell in love with it. I continue to fall in love with it. I will probably be a stunt grandpa one day, sitting ringside interacting with the wrestlers because it's going to be really fun. So yeah, and you just want to keep it positive. And if you're one of the wrestling fans, expand your horizons. Don't be so locked into, if you like something, great, but keep it positive.
So I will
There's
say that this was interesting. I have a Cody shirt on now, and I had a Cody shirt on recently, the different one, not this one. And I had a guy at Publix start talking to me about the shirt. He had no idea it was a wrestling shirt. He had no
wow.
clue. And he just started talking about the shirt, how cool the shirt looked, and everything about it. And I said, "Yeah, man, it's a
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes shirt." He's like, "What?" And I told him a little bit. He's like, "Oh, for real?" And so then, of course, it turned into, "Hey, man, yeah, I like wrestling. I didn't, that kind of thing." He's a very fringe type dude. But it was kind of
Mhm.
all the conversation was about the shirt. But he had no idea it was a wrestling shirt.
Mm.
And it was kind of
Mm.
cool to just kind of transition that conversation. That was a guy, just like I said, just at Publix. I will say that not this year, but obviously the year before, I had on a Roman shirt, and this dude walked through. He's like, "Man, Cody should have won." That was the only conversation. Like we passed each other in the like the cereal aisle at the grocery store, and I said, "I
Yeah,
agree," and that was the extent of the conversation. That was it. It just kept on going.
that's
I
fun.
love that
That's
kind of
perfect.
interaction, man. I just love that
Mhm.
kind of interaction. Or like you said, people just walk by and they just too sweet you and just keep on moving.
Mhm.
Like there's not even nothing.
Yeah,
It's just like you have this little. It's like this big click that you got, like this
yeah.
little cult sport over here. The only other time I've ever experienced that was like when I would wear a hockey jersey. Hockey fans are the
Mm,
same way. Hockey
great
fans are very
parallel. Yeah.
much of a
True.
cult sport. Like you could
Yeah.
be a huge rival, but in public, it's like, oh, you like hockey, I like hockey, cool. You know,
Yeah.
but now if you're watching it together, you may be like this because you hate each other's team. But in public, you support the sport. So it's just kind of cool.
Yeah. I like that. Support the sport. Let's support wrestling like that. Not have all this nonsense, animosity, and tribalism. But with that said, let's jump in for tonight. Thank you guys for kind of talking about those memories, and we really got into some deeper conversations there, which always great. I always like where the conversations go with us. Um, Thinking about summer, summer brings a lot of creativity in a lot of ways in pro wrestling because there isn't, this overhang of a WrestleMania or a championship or big events. In some cases, there is. So tonight I brought you two guys some promos. Some of them are really fun. Some of them you're gonna have to think about. Some of them are going to be a little educational, and it's going to take you back a little bit to maybe something that may have happened in the past. So yeah, today we're gonna dive into a few fun pro wrestling promos, and they're all kind of in the vein of school being out, summer being in session, and then some of these are gonna really make you think, like historically about where they stand. So let's start off with a real fun one. Sorry, Greg, I didn't quite bring the promo that you wanted, so next time you're gonna have to bring that because I do wanna I do want to see it, or maybe we can put it in the show notes so that people can experience that one. So. This first one is, I guess you call it a classic in terms of who is here. This is by one $1 million man, and R.I.P. Virgil, who's going to be in this promo here. It's a very classic $1 million man promo, and let's just say he's going to get his way because someone always has a price.
Have you ever seen a more gorgeous specimen in all your life?
No, sir.
You know, there are still a lot of people out there who think that their morals and their pride are more important to them than money. Can you believe that?
No, I can't believe it. Because morals and pride can't buy you gold. It can't buy you diamonds, sir.
Virgil, you're learning fast. And all you people out there are going to learn the same lesson that Virgil here has learned, that money can and does buy you anything or anybody. Like I said, everybody's got a price for the $1 million man. Bunch of little brats. Public pool, huh? We'll see how public it is. Anybody here?
Yeah, can I help you?
Yeah, I like a lot of privacy. When are all these little brats going to be out of the pool?
We close the pool at 8 in the evening.
Yeah, well, what would it take to make this a private pool right now?
I'm afraid I can't do that. It's public pool and they're taxpayers, and I'd have a lot of problems with the mothers and fathers.
Listen, mister, I pay more taxes in a month than these people make in a year. Virgil, I think we can find something wrong with the pool today, don't you?
I really can't. It's public pool. I really have problems with the mothers and the fathers.
Virgil, I think there's a little too much chlorine in the water, don't you?
I'll be right back.
Now get these brats out of the water.
All right, everybody out. The chlorine level's too high. We're going to close the pool. Let's go. Come on. Come on, you brats. Get out the pool. All of you. Come on out. Out. Come on. Let's go. Hey, you two brats. I said out of the pool now. Get out the pool. Come on. It's time to go. Let's go. Let's clear the pool.
No
Everyone
way.
out. Let's go. Out.
I came here to swim, not to be shouted at. Yeah. We did some old breakfast.
Hey, don't feel sorry for those little brats. And don't be upset with the pool manager. 'Cause he didn't do anything that any one of you wouldn't have done. He had his price, just like each and every one of you has your price. Everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
Classic promo. Adrian, what's going through your mind as you're seeing the hulking Virgil there yelling at kids that don't want to be yelled at?
Nah, man, it's perfect character work by all involved. We all know the $1 Million Man. We all know, what his gimmick was, and it was just played to perfection. Virgil was a good second in command. I love how while the pool manager is getting the kids out, Virgil's just basically just standing over him like, hey, y'all hurry up, get on out of here. Like dude, it's already bad enough you've ended my day in the pool, but you're just standing there. Like you're not doing anything. You're not adding anything to it. But it was perfect. And I really enjoyed the little side conversations of those kids. Like you could you can sympathize for those kids, man. Like those were always the fun days where you were going to the pool, whether it was the public pool or a friend who had a pool or something like that. That was supposed to be a full day event for those kids. Didn't he say they close at like 8 or something?
Yeah, 8 o'clock. Oh my god!
Imagine the time that's actually
like it's like
happening.
dead noon or something, right?
Yeah, that's like your parents have already dropped you off at this public pool at noon, and now you have to wait until and there's no cell phones. It's also
That's very true.
You're staying in the parking lot until 8 o'clock, waiting for mom to pick you up. Looking through the cage and seeing $1 Million Man just sunbathing, not even swimming. Yeah, it's ridiculous, but it's perfect, man. That's the kind of stuff I love to see, man.
Oh, the moment I saw the title, I knew what it was. I was like, oh man. And to me, for that time period, greatest heel of all time for that certain time period, right? I mean, that right there is the epitome of heat at the time. It's exactly what Adrian just said. It was Mr. McMahon before Mr. McMahon. It was the man, right? It was corporate. It was everybody's got a price. Everybody's selling out, and that you got to think about. This is 80s into the 90s, so that was huge corporations and that big boom. Virgil, that may have been Virgil's greatest promo of all time. You think about some of the promos he had, which were not good. That one may have been his best, just how he delivered it and everything. Also, how those two played off of each other was very good. And it also was funny to me when I watched that. I'm thinking, man, what Ted used to be like when I first was introduced to Ted DiBiase, what he was. When I was first introduced to Virgil as Soul Train Jones, what he was, and how different these two characters are from what they were. Unbelievable. But that was a classic $1 Million Man promo. But I thought it was very, very nice. I mean, if you think about it, really what he did, he said, look, I have a little bit of extra money. These kids are in danger. I mean, they may get too much chlorine into their skin. They may swallow a little bit of chlorine, and hey, Mister Poolman, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pay you to check this chlorine and make sure it's okay. And then what he did as a man of the people is he came out there and said, "Look, guys, the chlorine's a little bit high for you, and you need to leave." And I thought that was very respectful of him. And you really think about Ted doing his civic duty, and then Virgil trying to teach these kids a little bit of, look, it's time to go. You're not supposed to lag around. You're supposed to get on out. And so if you really look at it from the alternate side, and they were doing a public service.
Yeah. Even enough to hang around and supervise until the
Exactly.
chlorine levels
Right.
adjusted, right? You could let them
Exactly.
back in.
Because somebody had to watch the pool and make sure they didn't get back in, because those little rugrats were probably going to climb
Yeah.
over that fence and try to get in.
Rough times for Ted DiBiase and Virgil. Oh man, yeah. It's funny because we take all these things for granted, right? As Adrian, you were both saying, Adrian and Greg, they're hallmarks. They're hallmarks of wrestling. We can look back at these, but they were not hallmarks at the time. These were built. These were designed. These were, curated almost in a way. And then they found, it almost became its own script in a way. There was a frame for how to do other promos. So in a way, I think they are somewhat, not spoken about enough because they're just taken for granted. So I appreciate this, kind of
I
enjoying
mean,
that.
think
So
about the character development that comes out of those, because if
yeah.
I'm not mistaken, he's already wrestling at this time frame. So these are not just introduction promos. These are promos
Hmm.
or vignettes, if you will, that are
Mhm.
happening as his character's already out there. So it's like additional character development that we kind of miss in today's world. Right now,
Yeah.
our character development all has to happen in front of you. These
Right.
vignettes really set the stage for the. I mean, you knew what Virgil was. You knew what he was kind of like his valet. You knew
Hmm.
what Ted was. They really established a specific character that you just hated behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Why I say behind the scenes, like not just in the ring. So when they did come out into the ring and did other stuff and kind of transferred those vignettes into real life things in the ring or on the set of Piper's Pit or whatever, it was kind of like, wow, I just hate this dude, and they were able to generate that heat through these vignettes. So I think that's the other thing that's really missing. Like as we went through that, it's like, man, I miss these vignettes. They were such great things.
And those aren't even expensive to shoot, really. You
Hmm.
Hmm.
know, it's really. I mean, I'm really surprised that we don't see as many of those now in today's wrestling because now
Hmm.
you have cell phones.
Mm.
One
Yeah.
unique thing about the whole Rock Cody bloodline WrestleMania story was the fact that Rock was pretty active online.
Hmm.
Those promos he was cutting were you can you can kind of say that's kind of vignette ish in the sense of he's somewhere else,
Yeah.
not on site for a wrestling match. He's not by a ring. He's not where I mean he's in his own backyard. He's by a pool. He's doing his
Yeah.
thing and he's cutting a promo. Like those are the kind of things that we enjoy seeing. We want to see more of that to develop character and more motivations for us to either cheer or boo that person.
Hmm.
So
And
I
yeah.
I think that's a very good point, Greg. That those vignettes were really powerful. Like they really set up a lot of character development. Some were fun, some were serious. Whatever character was involved with whatever vignette, but
Hmm.
those things brought it home. They ultimately made us cheer that person, that baby
Hmm.
face. They made us ultimately hate that hill. So
Hmm.
Yeah.
and $1 Million Man was probably the best example of it. But it's
Yeah.
so many different vignettes we can
Hmm.
Oh,
go
yeah. We
back
can go
and
down the
point out on
line.
some of these
But
guys.
yeah, but going back to you, shout out to those kids, man. They whatever they clips they took from that was hilarious. That was so good. That was awesome. But so we're gonna leave Ted DiBiase and Virgil, and then we're gonna leave them to inspect the pool a little bit longer. while we dive in. And we're gonna actually go back. We're gonna go back to class because this is gonna be an empty classroom that I'm gonna show you next, and possibly it's those same kids that just left that classroom and are now defeated by a DiBiase that we're gonna see their classroom inside of now. And this is one. This is an interesting one for me because I am going to bring in another ECW promo. Sorry, it just has to be that way today. Um, but this is someone who had somewhat of a career renaissance, and this basically became his most known character. Um, one Scotty, Scotty Flamingo at one point, Johnny Polo, and his most famous iteration here as he pontificates, to borrow a word from our podcast, inside a classroom and what it means to be at school.
We spend our entire youth in a room just like this. Childhood, supposed to be a time of bliss, a world of knowledge opened up before you. Unless, of course, you're different, a misfit, an outcast. And then what should have been a glorious memory becomes a hideous scar that refuses to fade. You can deny it, you can hide it, you can repress it, but ultimately, Tommy Dreamer, you can never forget it. Tommy Dreamer, you will return to the inescapable horror of the classroom of your youth, except this time, you will not graduate. Quote to Raven, nevermore.
Departure, a little bit more introspective from one Raven. This is 1995. The description says this is third promo in ECW. So someone who's obviously finding their way. But Greg, I'm going to bring it to you. What are your thoughts on Raven? What do you remember of him, from this era? If you remember anything,
Yeah, totally reinvented himself, right? I mean, going from Scotty the Body to Scotty Flamingo to Johnny Polo to like, what the world happened? And that kind of promo right there starts that character development, kind of like what we just talked about with Ted DiBiase. This is a character building foundation type of promo. It's kind of talking about where you're like the misfit in school, the what's supposed to be celebrated becomes your scar, which is what Raven started to be about, right? And it's really setting up that feud with Dreamer. And that was a huge thing for ECW, and they were probably the best pair for that. But going back to kind of, I just remember being introduced to the Raven character, going, "Is this really the same dude that was running around as Johnny Polo? Is this really Scotty the Body?" Like, it was just weird to me. I'm not gonna lie, but that also showed me that, wow, this dude has range. But I also felt like he found himself. I thought Johnny Polo was a great character, but he was a manager. Scotty Flamingo is kind of like every other pretty boy to me. So, but to see that transition into this was cool. The nice thing I like about this, I feel like he's taking inspiration from a Jake the Snake, in a very psychological type of a promo, very monotone, where you have to pay attention. It's actually very educational, very cerebral, what he's saying. There's a lot of read between the lines of what I'm saying. Because if you go back and listen to what he said, it was actually very profound. Him talking about school, and that school's supposed to be this happy time. It's supposed to be this time that you look back upon. But for me, and he didn't say it just like this, but for him, it becomes a scar. So for some, it becomes a scar and not a happy time. And then the way it kind of transitions into talking about Dreamer, you're like, whoa. Because the next thought is, were they in school together? What was the history? I mean, there's a lot of little pieces that leave you, and the way he cut it off made you want to know what's next. And I mean, I think that was the art of Raven, is that he knew that psychology and he knew how to play the audience to make you wanting more.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that piece on the scar is like such a kind of, to borrow, it's a great metaphor for what he considers. And I questioned, how much is that his personal experience versus just for the character too. But
Hmm.
Adrian, how about yourself? I heard you agreeing with some of these pieces, but what were your thoughts from this promo?
I mean, the main thing that stands out from the promo is just like what you said, Greg, was the cadence. Um, Previous month, we talked about Mick Foley, and that was something that really drew you in more. When you're pausing, you're more deliberate, per se, with your words. You're not just talking to be talking. You're every word you're saying, well thought, slowly pace, bringing that listener in, person who may not be interested from the beginning. They're going to be paying attention by the end because they're drawn in. They're drawn into that emotion. And one thing, just the best way to describe how he cut that promo, it seemed like every line hurt him more. It seemed like for him to say those things, it just hurt his soul. And that speaks to the vibe of Raven, like a 90s grunge,
Yeah.
life is pain, energy, and that's what he was, and he delivered it. I mean, that was my first time seeing that, and that was awesome. That was a dope promo, man, for sure.
Hmm.
I appreciate you saying that he captured the era, right?
Yeah.
He captured the mid '90s, the early to mid '90s, because we hadn't. Once we hit the late '90s, it's a completely different existence, right? Even in pop culture, but that era, right? That Pacific Northwest, I hate the world, the world is against me, my life is a cloudy day.
Mm-hmm.
You really captured that, and Greg touched on it. This idea of reinvention, right? And so now I know the background, right? At the time, we just know this is a guy who's talented, and knowing the guy is incredibly intelligent, right? Super high IQ. Was a protege of Vince at some point. Vince McMahon. Vince wanted him to stay with the company on the commentary side, and at some point on some production side, and there was some machinations of that, and obviously he leaves. But it's interesting to see what his path would have been had he stayed in WWF at the time, rather than really betting on himself and saying, hey, I have more to offer, and it's just not going to be here. Obviously he finds himself back as this character later, but I always think it's interesting when people say, like, no, I truly am an artist, I want to explore this more, and money's not really everything, so
Mm-hmm.
to speak, which it is for some people. Great. So that's some great character work, and as always, I love character promos. I love the developing character promos, because we don't see this fully fledged. We see almost elements of it, elements of what this character would ever become. Staying with that piece, and I'm so glad you wore that shirt today, Greg, because we're gonna hit on a Cody promo next, and it's a good one. It's a solid one, and I'm gonna call this one. I'm gonna call this era of Cody the prototype. And I'm not talking about a young John Cena. I'm truly talking about who Cody was in this era where it's Bullet Club. There's some Cody's not really the leader, but he wants to be the leader, but you're not sure if he's a leader with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. He has this really good friendship, but there's tension there, right? There's where this line came from, where Bullet Club is fine, when in fact it was far from it, right? This next promo leads into some of my favorite events, and I think I've talked about it, and leads from some of my favorite events, um, from the New Japan G1 special in Long Beach, from the later New Japan early shows in the US when an AEW did not exist. And I think that's what I want to focus on right now is you're going to see Cody. And I tell you, if I took this Cody and placed him in a WWE ring today, he would not miss a beat.
Bullet Club is fine. And with Super Card of Honor just around the corner, here we stand. The deep breath before the plunge. And let me ask you a question. Can anyone here name me a Kenny Omega match that they thought was great, that made them feel something? A match that didn't include Okada, our bona fide superstar, Chris Jericho.
What kind of point is he trying to make here?
No, you can't name me a match. Because that's what Kenny Omega is. He's that underground band that you swear you love his music, but you can't name any of his songs.
I think we all know that's not true,
The perception that Kenny Omega is the greatest wrestler in the world today, when in reality, the reality is that I dominate the news feed, that I monopolize the budget here, that I am the leader of the Bullet Club, that Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi are a publicity stunt. The reality that he called me a reject from my former company when he's a reject from its developmental system.
Come on now.
And the reality that Mr. Clean or Mr. Omega had the gall, had the nerve, had the balls to put his hands on my wife.
And the connection to summer is this is going to lead into a very hot summer program that would eventually be pretty historic in my view. Adrian, I'm going to come to you because we were just talking about this being such, a huge New Japan fan, and this is when ROH was still independent, working very closely with New Japan, and you have a lot of back knowledge on this. So tell me about what you think about this program.
No, this was perfect, man. I almost forgot about that promo. I remember him saying that, and I definitely remember the reject line because that one had to be shared a couple times on Twitter, on Facebook. Shout out to House of Kayfabe, stuff like that, because that was a bar, man. That was a bar. He cooked them. He cooked them on that. But like unpacking that promo, is he lying? Like, I know as a New Japan fan, as someone who enjoyed that stuff and was really into it. I love all wrestling, but now it's been some years and he's not lying. He wasn't lying. So, the best promos have some truth to it, an element of truth, the element of critique, and that crowd wasn't trying to hear that. I know I wasn't trying to hear it, but as a person who appreciates a well-delivered promo, I was sold, man. I was like, hell yeah, Cody, cook him, man. Cook that man, And Adalid, I know you know this because you were there. Both of us were there in Long Beach.
Yes, sir.
The crowd hated Cody.
Oh, with a passion. With a passion.
Anything and every movement that came from Cody through his entrance, through the match with Okada, anything that Cody did, the crowd just crapped all over Cody. But it was gold. It was gold. He had everyone the palm of his hand. So that's one thing I definitely appreciate about Cody, man, because once he went out and bet on himself and asked for his release, through his journey, he's always been different than the promotion that he was at, which made him look that much more of a superstar. It just made him look like he was that much more of a big deal. And, a lot of that has translated to WWE, and I'm happy for it because The dude definitely deserves. He definitely deserves some of that special attention. He's a star. He's definitely a star, and he proved it once he left WWE. When he was at New Japan, you could tell he was different. When he was at ROH, of course, his line was the longest in Atlanta,
Yeah.
but he was different. He was different than everyone. That's part of the reason why people didn't like him at AEW during that time, because he was so different.
Because he
But
was
I
trying.
mean,
Yeah.
kudos to him, man. Kudos to him.
Absolutely. First meet and greet I ever did outside in California. Outside, he was wearing the suit. He was
Mm-hmm.
wearing the same thing he wears now. He knew
Yep.
what he wanted to be.
And he
He
was the
had
only
that.
one.
He had that character like in his mind already,
He was the only
and it
one.
was just a matter, right? Nobody was
Yep.
buying it at the time.
Everyone else had t-shirts and sweats on and looked
Yeah.
like slubs, but Cody had on his three-piece suit and was clean as hell.
Something we don't see here is down the line. Obviously, he wins the U.S. belt, the newly minted U.S. belt,
Mm-hmm.
um, while being the NWA champion, right?
Hmm.
And think now he's getting that critique of the way he holds the championship. All I see is NWA,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
right? But Greg, I'm gonna come to you now. What's going through your mind? You have that all the backstory. You know the story of
Hmm.
of a Cody Rhodes, and at this point in his development, what do you see?
I think it's interesting to watch him because as much as people compare him to his dad, he's so different. Like that promo was
Definitely.
cerebral.
Mhm.
That promo was heel. You listen to his promos today, they're heel promos.
Yeah.
But just everything he does in that ring makes people feel. He said that during that promo, and I don't know if you guys picked up on it. How do you make people feel, Kenny? Do you make them
Mhm.
feel?
Mhm.
And he's right. Nobody feels a Kenny Omega match. Most of these, they don't feel it. They enjoy it. So I'm not taking anything away from the matches, right? But nobody comes off of a Kenny Omega match with a tear in their eye. They did for Cody.
I
They
don't
did for
know, man.
Cody. Now here's what I'm saying. Here's what I mean. Cody beats Nick Aldis. There's people crying.
Mm-hmm.
Grown
Yep. True.
men crying. Cody wrestles Dustin. There's grown men, including Dustin in the ring, crying. Cody
True.
just won the WWE Championship. There's grown men, I'll say myself, had tears in their eyes. He had freaking Samantha crying. He had Michael Cole crying. He makes people feel at a different level. So when he says that about Kenny, when people were saying Kenny's the greatest in the world, he's coming back to say, is he?
Mm-hmm.
Kenny needs the dance partner, is what he's saying. And
Mm-hmm.
and kind of what you said, and he's saying exactly to a crowd who was worshiping Kenny at the time.
Mm-hmm.
That
And
is a
he
good
was
point.
calling them out. And if you listen to that crowd, they were chanting a little bit of Cody sucks. But after he hit that line, Cody, 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 because people appreciate facts, people appreciate story, and people appreciate feel. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what he did. But I want to point out a couple other things that Cody does. And he's done this since the day he left, and he grew and grew, and he does it to this day. What did you notice that he did when he walked around that ring? Did you notice? So if this is the microphone, he held the microphone with this finger out. What's on that finger? That Ring of
Oh,
Honor ring.
yeah.
He
Oh
made
yeah, that
sure
was.
that is out front the entire time because the dude is the ultimate promo.
Hmm.
And he made sure this ring is the whole time was in your face. So he's putting over the promotion. At the same time, he puts over Kenny. At the same time, he puts over Okada. Think about everything he's putting over at the same time. Yeah, he blasts Kenny, but he's still putting him over because he's mentioning him. He's putting over Okada. He's putting over Jericho. Because what else happens if I put over Okada and saying that Kenny beat Okada, but Okada was great. Kenny beat Jericho, but Jericho is great. So now when I beat Kenny, I'm better than Okada. and I'm better than Jericho, and now I
Right.
have elevated myself. That is the art of a promo. That's the art of putting everybody over that says, if I'm competitive with him, I'm better coming out of this.
Mm-hmm.
He never said he wasn't good. He just said, are you the best in the world? And that's what I loved about that whole promo. The delivery was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The gum chewing through a little heel spit into, spin into it. Him spitting the gum out said, now I'm taking it serious. Everything he does is so almost calculated that
Deliberate.
everything he does is means something. And that's why I think he resonates today.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at his characters, there's no reason he should be a face. There's just not.
Right.
Yeah.
The dude is Ric
Yeah.
Flair in a sense. He's walking out there in suits that nobody else can afford that's in the crowd. He's a champion. He's got a beautiful wife. He's got everything that
Smoking hot
people
wife.
aspire to be, but yet people love him because he's genuine too. So
Mm-hmm.
I think, but this promo is a foreshadow. Man, it's such a foreshadow. It's fun to go back and look at that one.
Right.
I'm glad you brought this because, man, watching that also tells you he's got so much more to give. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
this dude.
And he's feeding off the crowd, right? He's not just reciting.
Mm-hmm.
He's living it. He's breathing it. He's pausing.
Mm,
He's reacting. And it's like he's distilling this promo that will be his trademark essentially, right?
mm-hmm.
Down the line. And the one that we just accept now, because he can walk into that WWE ring and hit it like in his sleep, but he's still, he's finding the notes, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
finding the notes to that song right now still. I love it. I love the promo. I love the conversation, guys. And I love that fact that we all have real unique experiences with this era of Cody and that we've seen that journey for him. And it's always fun to go back. So
Definitely.
that was really cool. That was really fun. With that said, I have something really fun for you guys saved up, but we talked a lot about all these promos that have some relation to summer. For me, summer had, when I was growing up, a lot of the time had to be riding the bus because I was a kid in LA, and the best way to get around LA was especially in the 2000s, was getting on the bus and getting on the MTA, whether you needed to go to the beach, whether you needed to go hang out with friends, where you just need to get to the other side of town and whatnot. And the non wrestling clip we're gonna close out the show with tonight is a really fun one. It's not from LA. It's actually from New York. This is a particular bus ride. A particular gentleman get into a particular argument with a particular lady. I'm gonna stop saying particular. I'm just gonna show you the clip.
This is New York. Everybody late. Everybody.
Because you're nosy, that's why you are late.
Everybody late. It's New York.
Bitch, that's why you are late.
You want to be on time, go to Jamaica and walk to work.
And if I was still, I would have get there.
You're going to be late. That's it. You're going to be late.
I don't give a shit where I won't come from or where.
Don't be mad at him because you're late.
Not from Jamaica either, so you're talking from.
Or wherever you from, you might be on time if you walk there.
I was talking to the driver.
But you're annoying me, so now I'm going to speak on it.
I'm not in your fucking house.
It's fucking annoying.
Oh, I get you annoyed. You live in your house?
You need a
Who you
fucking
live
car.
with and I fucking you?
You know what it is? You upset because you got a bullshit ass job. And you late to your bullshit ass job. You can't buy a car because you got a bullshit ass job. Don't be mad. Don't fuck everybody else day up. Poor lady got a wheelchair. She got on the bus with a wheelchair. That's why the bus is late. You gonna be mad at that? Come on, get out of here. Ask your boss for a raise. You can buy a car and you won't have to take the fucking bus. I'm gonna probably get fired. I'm mad late. I don't even care. I'll get another job. I'm not gonna get mad at the bus driver. It's my fault. I should have been on the 12:10 instead of the 12:13 bus. That's my fault. That ain't his fault. Wake your ass up early. Put the fucking dumplings down. And get on the bus. Yo. Wilding out, B. Yo. You could keep going. I could keep going. I'm getting off at 5 towns. So we could do this all the way till 5 towns.
He's a pussy because you retarded.
I'm retarded too. Me and the bus driver both retarded. Everybody's retarded. Now, who else is on this bus? This bus too long for everybody to be retarded. People get on the short bus, not the long bus. Yo, go a little slower, driver. You're going too fast.
Man of the people, man.
There we go. There we go.
Man of the people.
Oh man, I would
Public
love to see the bus.
transportation, everyone.
Right, I would love to see the bus driver's reaction to that.
I don't think you even heard half of it, but
Honestly, man, that's New York. That bus driver has probably seen way more crazier stuff.
yeah.
He's just keeping it moving. Keeping it moving. That's how you got to handle that stuff, man. But yeah, public transportation sucks.
Oh, man,
So for those of you listeners that don't own a vehicle, I'm sorry. I pray for y'all, man. Public transportation sucks.
If you
Sucks.
live in a big
Thank
city
God
in
for
the
Uber.
United States, God bless you, because I
Golly.
can't go back.
My thing, I'll take a train all day long, but man, the buses,
Yeah.
train I'll take all day long. I don't have an
When's
issue.
the last time you taken a MARTA?
Me, recently,
Yeah.
the train,
Yeah.
about a month or two ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so anytime I go down to, if I go down to Mercedes Benz or if I go down to State Farm, if I go down there, unless I've got volleyball that I got to take a kid to, I'm taking train down every time.
I can't, yeah.
Yeah,
I can't.
don't bother me at all. I'll jump on that train. But now the bus, that's a whole different story. That's a
Yeah.
whole different story.
Yeah. No.
We
Uber.
don't got the infrastructure over here. Sorry.
Uber.
Everything exists out here, but unless you need to use it, just use your car.
That's wild. But he was right.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how shout out his response was, he was right. Like, dude, yes, this situation sucks, but you being a jerk is making it that much more worse. So I'm gonna do my best impression of you being a jerk right now. And just I'm gonna put the mirror right to your face. So every time you have something to say, something snide, something that's not gonna help this trip, I'm gonna revert it. I'm just gonna volley it right back to you. And he did it. And he did a great job. I love I'm late for my job too. I'm probably about to get fired, but I'm gonna have to go get another one. And I also love how he unpacked the reason why she was on the bus. He was like, you got a horrible job that's not paying you anything, which is probably why you can't afford your own vehicle. And that's why you're on this bus with us. And it's late. So there it is.
But the other thing he threw out there, and I love the personal accountability. He said, I should have been on the 1010 bus.
1210
The 1210, not the 1213. And that's my fault. You
Right.
should have been up. You should have got up earlier, got
Yeah.
on an earlier bus. And I'm like, he's right. I mean,
That's
at the end of the
right.
day, I have taken the bus before, and multiple times to work. It used to be my normal routine. I'd take the bus to the train. I knew what time I had to be there, and if I missed that first bus, guess what? I ain't gonna be on time. So it is what it is. And whose fault is that? That's my fault. That's nobody else's fault. I can't get mad at the bus driver.
That's a fact. That's
lesson learned, everybody. Be on time for the bus. Don't
Right.
hassle folks on the bus. Don't try to make yourself the show.
All right. Wear some headphones.
There you go.
That's the cure.
Silence
If
is
you're doing
golden.
public
It's like a
transportation,
theater,
wear
man.
some headphones, and you'll be fine.
Oh yeah,
just wear some headphones. You'll be in your own world.
Let's wish for a future of self-driving cars so that we don't have to do it. Well, with that said, we're gonna wrap up our summer wave episode, our summer episode here. As we're hitting a couple milestones here, and on Talk I'm in the building. And again, if it's your first time with us listening, thank you for giving us a try. Thank you for giving us a chance. As always, this is a podcast that we focus on pro wrestling promo, right? It's a bar our line. We talk about the talkers, we hype the hype man, and we pontificate on the promo. But as you heard tonight, we really dive deep. We go in directions because we're fans, and we hope that you enjoy the conversation that we bring to you through the podcast. But if you haven't followed us on the socials, give us a follow, give us a like on YouTube, subscribe if this is something that you're enjoying. And for the repeat listeners, welcome back. Happy to have you. Happy to be part of the community. But from me and from Adrian, from Greg, hope you guys join us next week or next time, I should say. And for now, keep that barbecue on. It's summertime.